responsibility heavily weighed on my mind because my mom preached that teaching children responsibility is crucial because it helps them develop essential life skills that prepare them for adulthood. Responsibility fosters independence by encouraging children to rely on themselves, solve problems, and become accountable for their actions. It helps them learn time management and organization, which are crucial for balancing tasks and priorities. Responsibility also builds a strong work ethic as children experience the satisfaction of completing tasks, whether through chores or schoolwork. More importantly, it cultivates an emotional intelligence by fostering reflection and self-regulation, empathy, and resilience. Ultimately, teaching responsibility equips children with the tools they need to navigate life's challenges, making them more competent, more self-efficient, and ready for adulthood. However, there's a danger in placing too much responsibility on a child's shoulders too soon. When burdened with unrealistic expectations, children may experience stress, anxiety, and burnout. They miss out on the aspects of childhood like play, creativity, and the opportunity to fail and learn from mistakes. Overloading a child with responsibility can hinder their emotional development, leading to perfectionism or difficulty setting healthy boundaries. Parents must strike a balance, ensuring that responsibility is age appropriate, nurturing growth without overwhelming their children. My mom often joked, "Why do you think I had slaves?" I mean children, she'd say with a playful smirk. But I always sensed the truth behind the joke. It was her way of setting up another request, something she could have easily done herself, but preferred to pass it off. And of course I would do it. I didn't mind, or at least that's what I told myself. Helping felt good. Her plate always seemed so full. And underneath it all, I was seeking recognition. I wanted to be appreciated for everything I did. For me, my overdeveloped sense of responsibility always felt like a gift and a curse wrapped into one. Part of me appreciated it, while another part of me found it exhausting to carry. When we were younger, my mom hired sitters for my brother and I. But with my sister, the role naturally belonged to me. No paycheck, little recognition, just the weight of an unspoken obligation. Did anyone even notice all I was doing? I often felt like the help, like a servant, as I became one of her primary caregivers. I took the role seriously, and I carried the weight well. But just because I made it look easy didn't mean it wasn't heavy or hard. I liked being the protector, the one people turned to. It became my identity. I wasn't just tough on the outside. I had a heart of gold, resilient to pain. Still, that often meant taking on more than I could handle. I'd never admit it, but this deep-rooted need for hyper-independence has always shaped me, making it hard to accept that I couldn't do it all on my own. I was 13 when it first happened. The moment I realized how others saw me, how they judged me. I was at Frosty Freeze, my 1-year-old sister in her stroller and $10 bill in my hand from my dad in my pocket for ice cream. The air was warm and the world felt peaceful for a brief moment. Then I noticed them, an elderly couple, their side glances filled with the unspoken judgment. I felt their eyes narrow on me before they even said a word. "Look at babies raising babies," they muttered, loud enough for me to hear, their disapproval heavy in the air. The anger roared in me, too much to hold in, and I don't know why I snapped, but I did. Not that it's any of your goddamn business, I shot back, but she's my baby sister, and it'd be physically impossible for her to be my child. I haven't even gotten my period yet. Physically fucking impossible. My face burned, both from fury that coursed through me and the surprise at my own words. The couple gaped, mouths open, clearly embarrassed. They turned away quickly, but I wasn't done. I could feel the tears threatening to spill, but I held them in. Others in line watched and no one said a word. I was embarrassed. I felt publicly ridiculed. I was angry at them, but I was angry at the world for just seeing me as a burden bearer. To outsiders, I was a teen mom who took on too much too soon. But that wasn't me. I was a babysitter, a good sister, and on the hard days, my mother's helper or her slave. I wasn't trapped. I chose this life. I showed up for my sister every day, not only because I had to, but because I loved her. She was my sidekick. My days were a routine. Wake up, go to school, walk to pick her up, come home, watch her, then start dinner, do chores, and finish homework. I had been doing this for as long as I could remember. It felt like I was more of an adult than a kid. Shouldering responsibilities my friends didn't even have to think about. After all, my chores aligned with those of an adult. That reality began to stir a quiet rage in me. I didn't have the language for it back then, so it festered in silence, turning into bitterness. My friends didn't want to spend time with someone who always had a toddler in tow. While they wandered through malls and shared secrets and stumbled through their first crushes, I stayed behind, anchored by responsibility. The isolation was impossible to ignore. There were never enough hours in the day, never enough space to just be a teenager. I always was chasing a version of life that kept moving forward without me. I started to believe that breaking free didn't mean walking away from responsibility. It meant taking it back. It meant choosing when to give, not just giving because it was expected. Fuck. I had to learn how to carry myself and be selfish with my energy. So I started stealing time, slipping out at night to meet up with friends, disappearing into the haze of alcohol and weed, chasing anything that felt like freedom. My mom had one rule: don't do anything you wouldn't do in front of me. And most days that rule kept me grounded. But when the middle of the night rolled around and the world felt quiet enough to forget, that rule meant nothing. I was chasing a fleeting sense of release from a life that never really felt like mine. During the day, when I was with my friends, I let everything go. I became a daredevil, bold, unapologetic, reckless. If someone dared me, I didn't flinch. If they said I couldn't do something, I did it twice just to prove them wrong. I wasn't just acting fearless. I believed I was invincible. You won't jump off that cliff into the reservoir, they'd tease. Watch me. I'd shoot back with a smirk and then leap without a second thought. But one time I didn't jump far enough and I hit the rocks below, slicing my shin open. Blood streamed down my leg, but I shrugged it off, still grinning. refusing to let anyone see the pain pulsing beneath my smile. I was too busy proving something, that I was tough, fearless, unbreakable. Being wild felt like freedom, and fearlessness, that became my armor. No matter how reckless I became, no matter how many rules I broke to prove I could, responsibility always found me. It was like the tether pulling me back into the life I was trying to escape. A weight stitched into my soul that I couldn't shake, no matter how hard I tried. The girl who once followed every rule began testing them all. I was tired of my kindness and helpfulness being expected, but never truly valued. No matter how much I gave or how hard I tried, it never felt like enough. The moment I stepped out of line, the punishments grew harsher, as if I was being made an example of. My mom's disappointment always started with, "Shame on you," a phrase I came to dread. It always felt like she was trying to make me feel ashamed of my choices. But while I was making them, her approval wasn't even on my mind. After all, it was my life. Soon, parents of my friends began whispering, calling me a bad influence. What they didn't realize was that most of the time, I wasn't leading the chaos. I was simply an eager participant. This reckless cycle became my new normal. I didn't care if it hurt others or if I was seen as mischievous or sneaky. I lied because I could. It felt like nothing I did mattered anyways. Even when I tried to be good, it never lasted. There was always some grounding, some consequence lurking around the corner. As my mom would always say, the appropriate response is, I was never fully wrong, but I was never quite right either. The basement was my prison. It smelled of mildew and dampness and decay, a place where shadows crept and time seemed to move slower. After every storm, water would leak in, pooling on the floor, creeping into the walls. The laundry was endless, 5 people, sometimes more, and the piles grew higher with every passing day. It wasn't just the smell, it was the lack of help. No one else seemed to care. When I was punished for an offense, misplaced homework, forgotten chores, I was sent to the basement. It wasn't just a chore, it was a sentence. The laundry piles were mountains, and it was me digging through them like buried treasure hunts, shirts, socks, towels, all crammed together in chaos. I couldn't even tell what was clean anymore. The smell never left me, no matter how many times I washed. I would fold the clothes and sort them hour after hour, week after week. One day, I snapped. I was digging through the dryer trying to find one single shirt. It should have been simple, but I couldn't find it. The frustration built inside of me like a storm. And when I slammed the dryer door shut, I couldn't hold it back anymore. "This is crazy," I yelled, voice crackling. "I'm doing my own laundry from now on. This mountain never ends and no one else is doing anything, and I'm fucking done." I stormed upstairs to confront my mom. "I'm not your damn slave. I do everything around here, and it's not fucking fair." She looked at me unfazed. "You're being dramatic. You don't know what real responsibility is. Crying over laundry is silly." Her words stung, sharper than I expected. Maybe she was right. I knew I hadn't faced hardships she had. But that didn't make my burdens any easier. The laundry was just one part of it. It didn't erase the weight I carried every day. I stormed back downstairs, determined to find my shirt. As I began sorting through the chaotic mountain of clothes, I wondered, was I really just mad about my shirt? Or was I mad that I felt like a slave? My mind drifted. To our brutal societal history. The people who carried too much too soon. There's always a breaking point. You either break free or you break down. I thought about slavery, not as a direct comparison to my life, but as the ultimate form of control, rooted in the belief that some lives exist only to serve others. Was I a servant? Why wasn't my hard work valued? Why did I always feel like I was clawing my way out of expectations, desperate for freedom? But then again, wasn't I already free? The questions looped endlessly because my world was nothing like theirs. Yet I knew the feeling of being molded by duty, crushed by expectation, pressing in from every side. It wasn't quiet, and it sure as hell wasn't subtle. It felt like a battle, constant, exhausting, like I was being forced into a version of myself I never chose. But I didn't go down easy. I fought back every chance I got, loudly, explosively, defiantly. If the world was going to try to shape me, I was damn sure going to make it feel the resistance. I wasn't going to fit quietly into someone else's mold. And in that struggle, I found a strange kind of clarity. I don't regret being the dependable one, the one people leaned on, the one who showed up. But I can't ignore the years I spent trying to prove my worth, acting out in reckless ways, shouting for attention in hopes of finally being seen. The truth is, I was never invisible. I just hadn't been standing in my own light. I was never meant to live beneath anyone's expectations. I was meant to be free, and I had to learn that freedom isn't the absence of responsibility. Sometimes it's the power to choose it on your own terms.